Can you give your name before you give your response?
My name is Ernest Stewart, and what motivates me to learn is the fact that not too long ago, people would have died for the opportunities that we have.
I look around and see what happens when you don't have the motivation and inspiration to learn. I see where you end up, and I don't want to end up that way.
That everything that's against me motivates me. All the struggles, everything that's facing me motivates me.
Hi, my name is Kiara, and what motivates me is the generation after me. I want to show them that I am an example and you can.
I am Sharice, and I'm self-motivated, and my family motivates me through our past struggles, and the opportunities are out there. You just have to have the drive and determination to go after what you want, and that's what motivates me to be a positive role model for my younger siblings.
Change. I guess I would say maybe parent involvement. You know, that's changed a lot. You don't find too many parents today, following behind, don't get me wrong, so there's a lot that does, follow close behind the children's education, but today, in today's times and the way that things are, that this doesn't happen a lot. You find a lot of teachers playing babysitters as well as teachers.
Am I gonna ask you a question?
About what?
Why we have such a low graduation rate?
It's a different time now. That's why. I mean, when I was growing up, I'm from the old school. That old saying goes, how it takes a village to raise a kid. That's how it was when I was coming up. Everybody did their part or did someone else's part to make sure that that child was all right. You were seen walking down the street and it was school time. They made sure your behind got to school, or they wanted to know why you wasn't in school. And it was taken care of. Now you can't say nothing to these kids.
It's not what we're doing. We're not here to indoctrinate your child, so to speak. But your child is going to have a sense that there are certain things that you do, certain things you don't do. There's right and there's wrong, and we use the Bible as our guide. And when it comes down to a public school setting, they can do the same thing because they used to do it. All right, because I used to be a part of that. Okay, when I went to public schools here in Rochester, that there was a sense that when you went to school, that the teacher was the authority figure. You just knew that.
Did you go to school in this area?
Yes.
And what's the big difference, do you think, now that you see today than when you went through?
There doesn't seem to be programs that address students' cultural needs. It's more just strictly about learning, math, science, those areas, and not about the students learning about themselves or other cultures or doing things to celebrate those cultures, except during certain times in the month. It should be like a year-long thing, and there should be activities designed to promote that on a regular basis.
And so when you understand that, and a child has that in their mind, from home, that hey, when you go to school, you're there to learn, you're there to respect the one who's the authority figure, then you have a sense that learning can take place. But what happens is when a child is undisciplined and not being taught, and the expectation is not within that child that when I go to school, I must respect those who are in authority, then that's where the friction starts. Because you have an authority figure and then you have one that does not want to respect authority. Learning can't take place.
Right.
Yeah, how do you feel about uniforms?
I don't know. I just don't like uniforms. I don't see the point of uniforms and why we have to wear it in school. It's uncalled for. It's purposeless.
It's not allowing people to be individuals. It's making everybody look like one.
What about the kids that can't afford clothes?
Oh, well then, I guess the uniforms is a good thing if you put it that way.
That's a great idea.
Because. Oh, why do I think uniforms is a good idea?
Yeah.
Because
people that don't have enough income don't have to worry about their kids getting, all the flights gear and all that.
And that saves a lot of money for us young parents too as well. That's living paycheck to paycheck.
Do you think it's easier buying uniforms for your child other than normal clothing?
No, I think normal clothing is easier because it was more variety out there of normal clothing than it was for uniforms. And I didn't have a choice of what I could buy. It was I had to buy this color, that color, this color, that color, and this color pants.
What about the curfew? A lot of people have problems with the curfew.
Curfew, little kids need to be in the house.
Yeah.
That's just that.
Were y'all always in the house when you were little kids?
No, and look, we have little kids of our own.
What if your school had uniforms, Miss School of the Arts?
That wouldn't be fair. It's School of the Arts. We're supposed to be creative. We're supposed to do whatever we want.
Tell you something. Do you like our new uniform policy?
No.
Why not?
Because it sucks.
Well, what do you think we should do about it?
Take them out.
What if we can't? What about people that can't afford any clothes for the
Well,
school?
then that's just too bad for them.
I'm sorry to hear the uniform policy.
Uniform? You see me, I ain't wearing it.
There's no freedom of speech there. Y'all should be able to wear what y'all want to wear.
How do you feel about the students wearing uniforms?
I think that's the best idea they could have came up with.
Well, because all the students look the same and there's not that competition of who's dressed better and who has the better this, who has the better that.
There won't be a problem with this person looking better than me. I think it's just a good idea. It's a perfect idea.
They might find it funny, but the uniforms being implemented in higher grade classes, keeping the children more focused on the studies rather than their apparel.
Do you feel your kids are getting a quality education at a city school district?
Yes. I've had 2 kids in the city school district since 1st grade, and initially we thought we would like to get our kids out of the city school district by the time they were finished with elementary school.
What is something that worries you about the education your child is receiving or will get in Rochester City School District?
Well, right now in their elementary program, it's wonderful, and I don't have any concerns about that. My concerns go more towards middle school and high school and the kinds of programs that they'd be able to be involved with, the environment that they have to deal with.
Their education, the teachers that they've had over the years have been high quality and really interested in what they do for a living. We kept them in the city school district through high school, and the kids that they're surrounded with are interested in learning and getting the most out of their environment. So most of our worries going into having our kids be in the city school district have been alleviated.
There need to be a couple of teachers in the classroom for some classrooms because we have kids with high anxiety levels or they're not, or ADD as they would like to call it. And I believe that those kids would benefit from having more than one teacher in the classroom.
We don't get a lot of literature sent home from either high school that my kids attend telling us what after-school activities are available to them or when sports sign-ups are.
So I would try to put like maybe 10 students to a teacher because the teachers become overwhelmed and they're not able to give them the best that they can give them. So that's what I would change.
and it's kind of confusing to me. I can't actually pressure my kids to get into after-school sports when I don't know when the sign-up dates are.
One thing I think would be the code of conduct for students. I think that hinders the educational process, and as a teacher as well, I can see some of those things in my classroom, and so watching my children go through the Rochester City Schools, I think keeping up with the code of conduct that is expected and the high expectations of excelling academically is important. Right now in the elementary setting where they're held responsible and they are accountable for their behavior. There are clear consequences for any rules that are broken. Things are defined well. And I think it gets a little sketchy in the middle and high school area. So as far as a district as a whole, I think the code of conduct is important.
Organized. They don't have anything organized. They totally lost my kid on the first week of school. And I'm not really feeling them. They need to get their stuff together.
How you feel we have such a low rate of graduations?
Probably because the teachers ain't teaching these kids. That's probably why. That's what I think.
There has to be a mentoring layer that these young men can see older men who are successful, your teachers, you've made it through, and to show them, how you can do it.
Teachers don't motivate the students enough.
For the most part, I found that teachers will wait until there's a problem to talk to the parents. That I don't get a personal note or any kind of communication except for report cards with teachers unless there's some kind of issue with my kids, whether they get behind in their assignments.
That's one thing that I find lacking is not being able in a public school setting to say certain things are right and certain things are wrong. And when you have a myriad and you give children a choice, you've got chaos.
People try multiple ways to communicate with parents, and I think parents are involved. And maybe what we have to do is to go to them. I mean, it's hard to figure out. I haven't got one particular solution in mind, but parents are at lots of different events. I mean, maybe you need to go to churches where people are and congregate, and other sporting events. I mean, maybe you could take a survey of people at a sporting event. Lots of parents show up for sports. They show up to watch their students perform in school. They show up at whatever the conference is, some way where we would use those moments in time to gather information from parents, because they're there, they're out there.
Oh yeah, I go in and sometimes I kind of run it by teachers first of my ideas, because I've lived in Rochester all my life. I know the system pretty well, and some of the principals and administrators are either former teachers or peers, and so it's really easy to go in and express your ideas and have them taken into consideration. Now it's the next step of seeing them come to fruition and see things actually happen based on things I'd like to see from when I went to school.
That I see that they do that's harmful to parents is they say, oh, those city parents, blah, 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 they don't know this or they don't know that. It's like you can't group us, because I'm a professional parent and I have my degree, whatever. And I've also seen what they call parents out of poverty or whatever go through their own parent academy and get the literature about how to be an advocate for your child. And those people have been banned from their schools when they start speaking up and using the material and the position like they taught them to do.
But on the same token, those administrators and teachers need to understand that they are accountable to parents. And if there is something going on their end, it could be as part of a system that has failed or whatever, then they need to be accountable to the parents. It should not always be a one-way street.
And my son now has to walk 6 blocks to get to his bus stop instead of down to the end of the street to pick it up in the nearest corner.
My only complaint is that I work mornings, and if they miss their bus, the city school district stop the second runs of the bus, so they won't give them a late bus. So that's hard for parents who don't have transportation. And I think that would be a positive for them to put the late buses back on.
Because he says that if he actually takes the bus that the school district set him out to take, it would take him a lot longer to get to school. He can leave later and catch an RTS bus and transfer downtown and get to school quicker than if he actually caught the school bus route bus on Monroe Avenue.
But all of the district's policies, I always say it, you guys got wonderful policies, but you don't enforce them.
And what can we do to better the city school district?
I think by having a new superintendent, that's a start there. So we're just gonna see just how well he do. I think we just made the first step.
The verdict's still out on Broussard. It'll be interesting to see whether he can make the graduation rates for seniors climb, keep more kids in school, but I haven't heard in the news many of his ideas and don't know what he's put into effect to achieve that goal.
Another aspect of this, which I find severely lacking, is that we've cut out a very important part of the educational process. And that means that everybody's not cut out for college. That's our goal. You know, we talk about graduation rates and we talk about those who go on to college, but our goal is to make our children successful. And that does not necessarily mean going to college.
Because my daughter has been, opportunities have come her way, and she's taken advantage of the opportunities. She's participated in forums that involve young people. And as I've gone to the forums as a parent, I begin to notice that the group of students that are representing their schools tend to be a certain set of students. And sometimes I see the same student.
But we've taken out the vocational side of the educational process out of the schools. So the child that says that, you know what, I'm just not going to be this. And that used to happen back in the 40s, 50s, and 60s when we had Edison Tech. There were some students that said, you know what, I'm not going to be college material. But guess what, I'm good with my hands. Show me how to be a plumber. Show me how to be an auto mechanic. And I can make a life for myself. But now you're saying, if I don't go on to higher education, what do I have left?
And my concern as a parent and as a person is, where are all the other students? And how do we develop forums so all students are heard and not just a few?
And I believe that's a missing component that we can gather, especially our young men, to say, listen, okay, you may not be the one walking across college campuses, but you still can be something.
Would you like to be in any other school besides Franklin?
Yeah.
Where?
Edison.
Why?
Because we get to do more stuff there.
Yeah.
Even there, in pushing for post-secondary, you got to make sure kids can read, write, and add. This is why I'm a big believer in this dual preparation in high school. If you're going for a skill, yes, the skill must be recognized by the industry. You get certified by the industry. At the same time, too, he prepares students for post-secondary so they can survive and become a participant in our economy and participant in the society. Otherwise, they're not educated, they don't make decisions, and they vote certain people in office for presidency, right? That makes you
What we're tired of is that there's a new superintendent that always come to town that say we're going to increase graduation rates, we're going to do this, we're going to do that. And they never put the money where the mouth is. They suck the money in and then they leave and then they get a good pension and we're still left with a poor system of kids that we don't turn out that's ready for the global world.
Do you feel that your children got better education in primary or secondary school?
I definitely think that they had better education in elementary school than in high school. Maybe because we were more involved as like volunteers and chaperones on field trips and got to know the teachers a little bit better.
I would say the number of high schools versus the number of elementary schools. There are more elementary schools than high schools, and that number kind of concerns me, how students feeding into the schools and it's overpopulated in my opinion.
Then in high school I feel a little bit more removed from their education now than I did back when they were younger. Also, just a couple of the teachers that taught both of our kids we were really fond of, so I might have a bias there too. They had some really good teachers in elementary school at 12 school.
At the elementary level, there are still issues that children have just as they're growing. but I think they have a very good handle of it in their school and how they discipline the children. And because of the kind of program it is, the Montessori program, it has a particular flow in how the children behave and interact with one another. So I don't have as many concerns right now. I think my concerns will come the closer my children get to middle school and high school age.
That they have teachers that appear to genuinely care about the student and their learning.
Well, I believe that they believe in education at number 50 school. The teachers go over and beyond for the kids. They help them, they give them extra credit, you know. It's a really good school. I enjoyed them going to number 50 school.
What do you see as the role for a parent in the child education?
I think it's very important to be involved in their education. They have a parent-teacher organization that we're a part of. And at home, on that front, doing homework, doing activities that go along with what they're doing in the classroom in order to give them more practice while they're at home is important.
I just give parents a real understanding. Number one is that the education process is circular in nature. I think of it as a circle. So there has to be harmony between parent, child, and school in order for this to be effective. So everyone has to buy into the process, you know, of going forward, that we're going to be lockstep in this. And it gives emphasis to understand that the child understands these, so there's not going to be any difference when they get home as opposed to when they're in school. They understand that these are the rules that apply.
I mean, it's just a different time, you know. A lot of kids can graduate. It's not that they can't. They can do it. They just don't have the support system that they need. But we don't have to worry about that, right? Right, Terrell? You
Right.
been talking to you?
Yeah, right.
Because you graduating, right?
Oh yeah, oh
Because
yeah.
we had that support system in this family, right? You
You
about to
already
get
know.
up out of here. You going to college or something. You're going to have to pay some bills or something.
Got
but
that.
you about to get up out of here.
But I'm probably to blame there too. I could come in and talk to your teachers or my kids' teachers and make myself available to them ahead of time. So it's a two-way street.
It's a two-way relationship, whether it's a relationship with a teacher or an administrator, that person also has to be respected. And so it has to go both ways.
And another thing is parent participation. I think that needs to continue in my children's school and elementary. Because it starts in pre-K, I think that encourages parents to become involved early and to hopefully continue their involvement in their child's education. And then in the middle and high school, that kind of falls off a bit for some. And I think that needs to stay strong even as they move higher in the grades.
What's something you would like to, what some advice you would give to parents that are trying to get involved?
Well, some advice, what I would say is that you want to be involved with your kid throughout the end to their senior year. Because the thing is, they're only with you for a little time before they go to college. And you should be able to know what's happening in your child's school and what's happening in their building. And if they're a special education or a special needs child, you need to know what kind of diploma they're trying to give your child towards the end, because sometimes they give them a diploma that really is not worth the paper that it's written on.
Mr. Love, why do you feel that we have such low graduation?
It may be in part because lack of parent involvement and overall misunderstanding of what credits are required for graduation.
For myself, if there's an issue with my child as a student in school, then I will show the school support, being there, addressing the issue as I believe a parent should.
So you want to be there every step of the way so you can keep an eye on what's happening. A lot of people feel that you're supposed to pull back so you can give the kids some autonomy. They got a whole lot of years in college to get all of that autonomy. And it's not like you won't give them some now. It's just that you need to be there.
Because, you know, in one sense, we're talking about educating a child so that they gain knowledge. But then there's other knowledge that a child must have in order to be whole. So that social experience that they have is going to be advantageous. But also there's a spiritual side. So, you know, we believe in all three of those coming together in one cohesive unit to make a child whole.
The Catholic schools, are they doing better or the same? Maybe they have a secret.
Well, you know, I went to Catholic school when I was a kid, and I can tell you, not really comparing apples. And let me explain what I mean by that. Once a parent engages in a process, you change the equation. Right? One, they have a right to say no, right? We don't. They have a right to say, well, you're not doing X, Y, and Z, you have to leave. Public schools can't do that. But really, the bottom line is, once, even charter schools for that matter, I'm a big believer in charter schools, once a parent engages, right, you got support already. So the situation changes already. So even it's like looking at the suburbs, right, and saying that they're doing better, but the fact is that the kids are coming in at a higher level. And the support is there. There's a home that is there as part of the equation. So you're really not comparing apples to apples. So there are different situations.
There are more of us involved than people think. And we're more educated than people think.
And it's a different time. These kids, they're taking care of themselves. You know, they're having to raise their little brothers and sisters, go to work to help, because the parents ain't there like they used to be. Like a lot of these parents are on drugs or just out there, just can't be there.
What's going on at home?
Okay.
What environment is this child coming from? And let's see if we can have some intervention in the home situation so that, the child feels safe and secure where they are.
I don't care where you come from, you always need a push here and there, to get you through. Even sometimes in the easy situations, you still need that push, that reassurance,
The cure-all is not in school. If it gets to school, it's too late.
Just that the morale of the children, of them being enthusiastic about learning, or motivated to learn. I think more so is their circumstances, and those things like that have to be addressed. In terms of their home life, their involvement. I think that ultimately affects how a kid functions and participates in school. So the curriculum or the courses of studies, I think, are fine within itself. It's the children that are dealing with other issues outside of having to get up to go to school.